I think I would like to be in a position kind of December 26 in saying, yeah, Carl Futures understands who we now are because we've now evolved into something different.
That with growth, that we've got to be really careful that we don't lose, because we're people's people.
So actually we bring them on a journey to Intercom Futures.
With growth comes a lot more responsibilities. We've got to make sure that as an organisation we are sustainable.
Tens of hundreds of people that have come to work from us from other care organisations, they say it's completely different to anywhere they've ever worked before.
I love the Ardea Pan brand.
And what better people than to train our staff that are on the floor, know our services, for trainer for them to train all of our other staff.
Absolutely.
Everything that happens and how we evolve should be a natural progression.
And we've got some real amazing people that work for us climbing the ladder. There's something that I'm incredibly proud of.
I think given that we did 2 acquisitions in 2025, one of the key principles for us is moving that forward and gelling everybody and getting everybody together and have a consensus around the group. And I suppose forming a corporate identity, I think, for us, those Calm Futures, is one of the key achievements that we need to look at towards 2026. And standardising that. I think I would like to be in a position with kind of December 26 in saying, yeah, Carl Futures understands who we now are because we've now evolved into something different than what we started off as. And it's about developing that and creating our own blend of culture and building on the foundation that we've developed over the last 4 or 5 years.
You mentioned wanting to create more of a corporate identity, and I completely get that, and we need that. I suppose from my point of view, I never want to lose that person-centered family environment that we've worked so hard in creative. And that's something that with growth, that we've got to be really careful that we don't lose, because we're people's people. He's worked in the care sector for 100 years. I'm 25 years.
I'm not telling you, I would know it. Yeah, I agree. Are you talking more around staff or service users or both? Can you worry about the corporate feel?
I suppose it's from the top, really, and it's inevitable when businesses grow. They need to act more corporate because they're of a certain size.
I think that's where most organisations fall down when you bulk it on acquisitions, is you have to try and blend your identity, but people lose sight of what this started off about. And I think for us as Calm Futures, it started off about developing something that was quite niche and bringing, I suppose, all of our experiences together and learning from the mistakes that you've done in the past. And part of that has been not keeping sight of where you started from and that grassroots. And I think that is quite important for us, that we don't lose sight of, as we grow and develop, that we still remember the reason why we're here, and that's the delivering a really good quality service to the people we support. And how, even though we may grow and we may be 100 beds or just over 100 beds now, but maybe this time next year it'll be 200 beds, but still it should be a calming, everything that happens and how we evolve should be a natural progression.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between professional and corporate. I think sometimes people muddle them up, and that's perhaps where they go wrong. And so you can be professional, but you don't have to be corporate. Structure is important, massively important as you grow, but you don't necessarily have to have a corporate structure. So I think it's how you want to grow the business is down to you. But I think the structure that you put in, if it's thought about and we integrate well, as Adam was saying, we do it properly, I think you can keep your family feel, but you've got to, that family feel has to flow down. When you acquire a business, you often acquire a culture within that business. So maybe some of the things that we can do is build in our inductions, and when we're integrating people, perhaps we need to do something around how Calm Futures started, and then integrate. As we integrate people, we can talk about when this is what you wanted and this is what you still want. So actually we bring them on a journey into Calm Futures with them really understanding the very beginning, but also if the end result is still to be the biggest and the best, but still be Calm Futures ethos, then we need to educate everybody that we're acquiring and that we're bringing into the business on what that actually is, because people might say, well, actually, I don't want to be, that's not for me. I want to be in the big corp where everything is, chief operating officer. And
I think as well, we've got to be, I suppose with growth comes a lot more responsibility. So we've got to make sure that as us an organisation, we are sustainable, because we haven't got now just kind of 10 people that we're supporting, or 15 staff, 20 staff, 30 staff. You end up being kind of 200, 300, 400 staff. You end up then having a more of a again, certainly for me, I feel a lot more responsible now as a director of the company, because there's a lot of other people now that you take a sense of responsibility for. And we've got to make sure that we're sustainable.
That's a lot of weight on our shoulders, and it comes back to having the right people in the right seats. And right now, the feeling I get when I go into the homes and visit support living and meet staff, it feels right, feels good. And we've got some real amazing people that work for us, that are climbing the ladder. It's something that I'm incredibly proud of. But I mentioned we've done 2 huge acquisitions last year, and I don't feel that we've lost our identity with that where we really could have.
I don't think we've lost our identity. I think we need to share our identity. And, we've spoken before candidly about there being 3 companies that are integrating. Essex came first, and they built their own little empire in that. Sometimes it's hard to integrate into that, and naturally so, and then the other way around. So, and we've got ongoing plans and work that we're doing to try and get that mindset where we're all in agreement. But actually, when you speak to people individually, they are all on board with that, because why would you want to work in care if you just want it to be corporate? Actually, we all went into care because we wanted to make a difference. We wanted to do something for ourselves that actually had some meaning. And whoever you speak to has that. That's what they tell you. So I don't think it's going to be difficult. I think we just got to make sure that you did it.
And I think each actually organisation that we brought into the Calm Futures family has got their own unique way of working, but that doesn't restrict us from being, for them bringing in all their good points as well. And on that, as with any I suppose any organisation that grows through acquisition and just organic growth, you're on a journey. And part of that journey is to actually acknowledge some of the things that people are bringing you and your life experiences or whatever may happen. But both them organisations have come through their own journeys, and they've had their good points and their challenges, but that's made them as an organisation who they are, and they're actually embraced coming into Calm Futures and actually are enjoying the kind of the way that they're now operating and they're working, and the support that they're now got the opportunity of having, which maybe they never had before as different organisations. They've now got a wraparound team around them. That's
100%. Yeah, and some real prospects, and we've got exciting prospects for all of these staff that have come in, and some of them have got huge amounts of experience. As we grow, there's opportunities for them to progress within the company, and I think homegrown is just. I love the idea of homegrown. And also the training that we're doing at the moment, or the apprenticeships and things like that. Could the options that perhaps weren't there 2 years ago, and suddenly we've got 20 odd people doing apprenticeship.
And what better people than to train our staff that are on the floor, know our services, for train the trainer for them to train all of our other staff.
Absolutely, yeah. We are growing as big as business. And recruitment pipeline is a very important part of how we plan and how we sustain ourselves. And as we're opening new properties or new services, we need the right staff in the right areas, and that does mean that you have to recruit. And if we are internally or homegrown progression, then it means we have to replace those staff for whatever role that they were previously doing, and that is a challenge. And in care, there's certain areas where we have an abundance of people that are applying, in other areas, especially rural areas, we have less people applying. And I think we need to look at that and how we can perhaps make our care service or highlight the differences in our care service so that people actually want to come and work for us. And if there's 3 care services that are recruiting, it's us they want to come, and I really would like to do a bit of work around that so we can really highlight the positives for coming to work for Calm Futures, which I haven't got to as yet, as to sort of come work for us because we're amazing, and absolutely we are.
And there is so many positives. If you think about the tens of hundreds of people that have come to work from us from other care organisations, they say it's completely different to anywhere they've ever worked before. You know, they can reach out to their line managers, but if they need to, they can speak to myself or Alan, which is kind of unheard of in a lot of other organisations.
I think that might help in terms of our retention rates, because our retention rates are very good. People don't generally, they come into the organisation, but don't really generally lead the organisation. The reason for our recruitment is growth, mainly.
Absolutely. Our retention rate's fantastic. And actually, the people that perhaps we have lost are those that are, you know, their visas have run out and we haven't been able to sponsor them or for whatever reason like that. And that's another challenge around sponsorship. We have a lot of people that want to be sponsored internally and externally that apply in. Probably, I would say 50%, if not more, people that apply for our roles require sponsorship, which has its own challenges financially, license-wise, etc.
I suppose one of the challenges with that as well is we're not just yes, we've got a sponsorship license ourselves as an organisation, but you've got twofold. You've got people coming into the organisation that's looking for sponsorship, and then you've got our own existing staff group who either on different student visas, different routes, also wanting sponsorship. So, and we've only got a finite amount of licenses on our system to issue sponsorship. So, I mean, we're going through a conversation at the moment about a process and system about how we manage that. To give only that
early and transparent.
And that's really difficult because there will be some people that will achieve the sponsorship and some people that won't. And then, I mean, again, when you talk about responsibility, you've got a responsibility to make that right decision because it's affecting people's lives.
And that's why I think it's so important that we share the amazing things that our service users get up to on social media platforms. So people that might never have considered working in care before can see that it's actually not guts and gore. You're actually going out and they're having fun. They're doing amazing activities.
That's definitely a part of it. I think that we've got, you know, an awful lot of good staff who actively are searching for ways to improve the service users' experience and journey and life, and that. I think that's one of the things when I first started sort of going around the services just to say hello and introduce you to that, was how many people went out of their way to do that, you know, across the services. You'd pop in and someone would say, well, there's no one here, they're all out, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're being taken here, you know, and then we've got our lovely social media group chat, which has just turned into a sort of let's sit and have a look for whatever, you know, you forget all that is about because the photos that come through, you can't. It's like families standing here. Oh, we went to the beach and we did this. And we sit there looking, and I think, I wonder how we could turn that into a reel of, because I sit scrolling through it, and I'm not a scroller, but you know, how can we turn that into something that says, look, this is really actively what our staff do for all these people that we support. And it's not a day job. You can see it's not a day job because they give up more than that to sort of spend their time with them. And then why would you not want to come and join that? You know, that sort of food.
Well, I wonder whether we can utilise some of that in terms of our kind of promotions to people so that when our staff or external people maybe see some of that social media activity, they realise that it's great being a support worker coming into an organisation like that, but someone's got to be there managing that, having the initiatives to take and trying different things, learning different things, and whether that's a message out there for people that are looking and aspiring to become the leaders and the managers of the future. That yes, actually the organisation is doing this good work, but someone's got to manage this group of people. Someone's got to have some ideas. Someone's got to do the supervision to make sure that the kind of it's operating in the way that's having good outcomes for people.
Yeah.
And all of that needs an infrastructure, whether it's a support worker, whether it's a team leader, whether it's a registered manager or an area manager, whoever it may be. There needs to be a clear infrastructure behind that, but to get that outcome at the end of the day, which is what's
Yeah, because it's not all about going out and having a great time. There's compliance and operational safety and all of that goes along with it. And like you said, that needs to be coordinated properly. So
I think it'd be good for certainly something that I'm experiencing with us and from speaking to other kind of the network care operators and stuff you get involved in is people tend to miss they're looking for promotions maybe at TV, but not thinking about 5 or 10 years time, and you need to get that step through to be a registered manager, and potentially, who knows, you may well be decide to go into business and go create yourself a loan operator, but you've got to come through them elements to be able to reach a bigger goal. For me, sometimes a lot of managing services is about people respecting the journey that maybe you've come from, and that you're not just somebody who's come out of maybe university or college and fell into a management job. You've got lived experience.
it's a bit like the services. Like
Maybe that's some work we need to do about our experience.
Yeah.
About starting as cleaners and working our way up, and there's probably not a position in care that we probably both haven't done, and that gives us the strong stead for sitting in the chairs that we sit in today.
Yeah.
And understanding.
Yeah, and I think I'll say certainly in terms of promotion, and whether that's internally or externally, just saying to people, this isn't just a job that you come into and you cannot grow and you can't develop. A lot of people move around because they don't get the opportunities that they maybe would want, so they go somewhere else and get a better job somewhere else. But for us, and I suppose for Calm Futures, a growing organisation, there's so many other opportunities. And we'll be looking at moving into PVS and practitioners and and administrators, different. We could be looking at our own clinical teams and that kind of stuff as we progress. So
training academy.
training academy and trainers that we're currently going through at the moment. And different organisations go through training academies and also having your own training learning centres and being endorsed by Schools for Care and other kind of organisations there, that mean that your care isn't just what you do, it's about what other opportunities you can give out to the local community as well. I think one of the challenges is the high expectation that families have and local authorities around not just the care, but the environments that people are living in. And I think that rightly so, care has evolved into a point where people are expecting high-end accommodation as well as high-end care. So that's where we're looking at to develop kind of our services around the fabric of the buildings, whether it's the soft furnishings and things like that, which is investing a lot of not just time and energy in thinking about what's right for people.
And we want the best for people. So in our support living services, we don't get paid any more money whether we put an oak door on it and make the property look beautiful than we do from just handing over a standard property. But we believe that the people that we support deserve to live in houses like we live in, and they deserve the best. And if we can do that as a company, then it works.
And the other I suppose one of the big challenges at the moment is there's lots of local authorities that kind of mainly commission our services. They're governed by politics, and you can see everywhere at the moment there's complete unrest around politics. Nobody really knows where like you sit, and different local authorities are going through different redesigns and restructures. And we were meeting the other day when they were saying about certain health authorities are being 50% losing a lot of their funding. And 50% jobs being lost, which means I think the challenge within the sector is maybe the networks that you built up will no longer be there. The people that are trying to make the decisions at the moment are focused on other things rather than making the decisions about either referrals or kind of looking at developing the service or what's needed in the market in certain places. It's a challenge to understand what the current direction of travel is. and not just for us. I think for the local authorities themselves, because they're in the middle of it as much as we are.
Well, it never gets any easier for the local authorities, is it? I mean, it's one challenge after another, I think. I was just going to mention as well that from a people perspective, one of the things I've noticed over the last 3 months is the amount of people that are struggling in the cost of living crisis. There just seems to be, and I don't know whether it is because there is a political shift. I always think they tend to go hand in hand, that people worry more because I don't know what's going on in the outside world, but so it affects them internally in their inside world, and then it comes to work with them more than it would normally. And I've noticed a shift in people coping on a day-to-day basis and perhaps needing a little bit more support around whether they're doing a good job, whether they are managing, whether they need a bit of time off. It just seems to be at the moment there's a lot going on in people's lives, and it's not just within the care industry, but those that work in the care industry. When you are caring for people all day and then you go home to families, you're more likely to find burn. And so we just need to make sure that we keep an eye on the fact that that is a thing in the care industry, and to be more open to it in the light of it being a very difficult
climate. And you're right. And speaking about that with the people we support, 9 times out of 10, they've got a family infrastructure that's people may live at home and deciding to move into supported living or residential care, and then things we're talking about as care operator are also affecting the family dynamics of people that are maybe moving on. And so for them equally, that uncertainty, and then again, we've had some recent referrals where we've had people that are maybe living at home and they're coming into discussing care for the first time, and them conversations, trying to get hold of somebody that understands what's going on, and that they're uncertain in their own personal world, and then they're uncertain, well, what will life be like if I'm not caring for my loved one, my daughter, my son is now moving on, what does life look like for me now, how does that work financially, emotionally? I've got to trust in somebody else completely about caring for my loved one. All of them parameters are quite have an impact. You
can understand why a lot of the families, they struggle to let go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we see people flourish when they come into our services, that they're living as independent life as possible.
Yeah. And I suppose the knock-on effect of that is the family, because of our approach, we reassure families that it will be okay, everything will be okay, and we'll reassure them about some of their own anxieties. But some of the feedback we've received recently is that people have had far more opportunities now than they've ever had. They've experienced different things, they're learning different things, and actually just, I suppose, delivering what we say we're going to deliver moves away the anxiety. It takes away the pressure, it takes away the other things. But you've got to deliver on what you're saying, because if you don't, then that's when actually you build more anxiety. And the issue, I suppose, in terms of the sector, is the trust in the ad hoc social care sector is just built on what you deliver, ultimately. And if you don't deliver on it, then
So I went for a coffee with one of the potential managers yesterday. I've told you this story already, and he asked what kind of our current futures growth plans are. What is it that really gets us going as an organisation? And it really got me thinking, because we've got certain plans to put on a certain number of beds, and the goal of that isn't financial. It's every time we go and assess someone, every time we go into a flat they're in currently, an existing residential care home, 9 times out of 10 these places are horrible. If we say, for instance, we're going to put 50 beds on a year, that's 50 people that we can put in beautiful accommodation with the right support they need, that are going to have amazing opportunities, access to the community, to grow as individuals. I think our job is done with just having that outlook.
100%.
I think that's what sets us apart from other companies. Is you got to fall back that you are a company, and there is a financial element, but the people that we support within Calm Futures are at the forefront of every decision we make.
And to be fair, I think as well, there's been referrals that have come through that we both have had and said, actually, I don't believe that we can do as better than what they're currently going. And sometimes we'll get referred because they may be driven by families or whatever, and they take a dislike to the current care provider. But actually, morally, for us, if we don't believe that we can do as better, then actually we should be saying we can't, because they're in the right place. Yeah, and they should stay there.
But that's person-centered care, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you can't, if you're saying you can't do any, you can't better that, then actually you're not doing it for the right reasons, are you? So, and I think that's the beauty of Calm Futures, is that the decisions that are made are for the right reasons. We often talk about the right thing to do, and it's not what we're legally obliged to do. Even with our staff, it's what's the right thing to do. And that's a completely different feel. And I think when you can say honestly to somebody, actually, they're in the right place and they're getting the right care, and actually that's as much as we would be able to do, then, it's still their choice at the end of the day of who they decide to go with. But I don't think you could ask for more than that, because it's so honest. But if you can do better, and we know you can, then instances, then yeah, 50 extra beds, yes, 50 extra people, that's
And potentially another 100 staff that we're giving jobs to.
yeah, I'm going to need a team.
2 people there, Pat, this.